On the draw here, gonna keep not a very fast hand. And okay, here's a game trail and a vessel, so it may be that we're actually up against the mirror here. That would be my first guess. So we could attune, but we would have to use an energy off Aether Hub. So yep, looks like the mirror. So this is gonna be interesting to say the least. So we can attune here, get a mountain, play a game trail, revealing the mountain we just got, and play Vessel. But if our opponent just has the Marvel here, that's going to be bad. Instead, it's Chandra. That's also pretty bad for us. We're really kind of looking for Marvel pretty aggressively. We would like to see it. So we're just going to pass here with the plan of activating our vessel during our opponent's end of turn. And we're at 5 energy, so that's still 1 away from being able to Marvel. What we can do is we can play our Chandra out and try to go after our opponent's Chandra with our Chandra. But it looks like our opponent has a way of making mana here, so it's going to be a Marvel. Our opponent is only on 2 energy, but that could change very easily, as we know. I'm going to get the Aether Hub here. So now if we draw a Marvel, it would be great because we could activate it right now. But we did not. So I'm going to run out this Chandra and see if we can pressure our opponent's Chandra with it. So we hit a Kozilek's Return, and we're just going to redirect the damage to our opponent's Chandra. That way, it at least isn't going to go ultimate quickly. The opposing Chandra, that is. The attune, though, that's going to be 4 energy. I wouldn't be surprised if our opponent had a way of making more energy here. Notably, though, our opponent has hit Emrakul a couple of times here and not been able to play it with their Chandra. But now our Chandra is all the way down to 1. Interesting. And there's the Harness Lightning just to make energy. And so now our opponent can activate the Marvel. So Puzzle Knot makes sense. It allows our opponent to next turn have another activation of Aetherworks Marvel. So I like plussing again, seeing what we hit. We found a Tireless Tracker. Do we really want to be casting that here? Not really. So we can just redirect the damage to Chandra. And I think we have to play Ishkanah just to kind of shore up our defenses here. Make sure that the Servant can't eat our Chandra, even if our opponent does end up getting rid of Chandra in a different way, like with their own Chandra. So it looks like our opponent's going to be able to get another activation here and can't realistically beat an Emrakul here. So it's a good thing that our opponent did not find Emrakul. So it looks like, yep, our opponent was able to take out our Chandra. That's pretty annoying for sure. Kozilek's Return, that's an interesting draw. I like going after our opponent's Chandra here aggressively. So our opponent's going to make blocks so that Chandra is still in play, which makes sense. And I like just getting rid of the tracker right now with the Kozilek's Return, even though it means a couple of our spiders are going to die. Tireless Tracker with Aetherworks Marvel is so absurd because of all of the clues that get generated from it. So our opponent found another Marvel here, which they could have cast to just get more energy. But with already enough energy, it seems our opponent doesn't really care about doing that. And there's the Emrakul. Really bad news. So I'm going to crack the vessel here. And I get a Chandra. Torch of Defiance, because our opponent can't actually get rid of it by just minusing it on itself. It would still be at 1 loyalty. So that's why I chose to get that Chandra there. So it looks like our opponent's going to play Servant because we drew Harness Lightning. Our opponent can now Harness Lightning away the Servant, using up all of our precious energy. And then if they want to, just attack with Ishkana to get rid of the Ishkana. And yeah, we can play an Ishkana here. And then hope to draw Emrakul next turn. And potentially do something with it. So I think we need to preserve our life total here, which means chump blocking with some of these spiders. Yeah, just going to block with 3 spiders. Pretty sad, but at least we stay at 6. And there it is, another copy of Emrakul. So our opponent now is going to be able to take our turn. Now we are still looking for Emrakul, so this gives us essentially 2 draws to try to find it. We did not find it there. So if we find the Emrakul, we can... I mean, we're still not in great shape, but we've got game at least. But we did not find it, and so game 2. So we saw how important just having the aggressive starts were there. So the turn 3 Chandra by our opponent was pretty devastating. So the question is, how do we want to sideboard for the matchup? Ulamog, we can go big, so we can go with cards like Ulamog and Worldbreaker. Chandra and Trackers are also solid. So I like Chandra. The Harness Lightnings are just pretty unnecessary in this matchup. They can actually do more harm than good in some situations. Similarly, Kozilek's Return can be good, but a lot of the times it just doesn't do what you're looking for it to do. So Tracker is pretty good. Nissa Vital Force can also be nice. A nice card to have access to. So I actually like going with a split of 2 Ishkana, 2 Nissa Vital Force, and then just playing the full playset of Tireless Trackers. So we're going to try this configuration out for game 2. So we took out a lot of our actual spot removal spells, but if we need to use something like a Chandra for spot removal, we can. So the question is, do we start on Evolving Wilds here? I think I'm just going to play a Forest because we have this Tireless Tracker. We might want to save the Evolving Wilds to be able to get some value off of it. Some additional value, an additional clue, that is. We would love to have something like a Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot in this hand to be able to get this Aetherworks Marvel online. Interesting. Our opponent's got Long Tusk Cub. That's pretty annoying, actually. With 3 energy already, so we could play the tracker here. That's one option. Another option is just play Vessel and sack Vessel. Pretty close call. I'm going to play the Tireless Tracker and respect this Long Tusk Cub, but our opponent may have another way to make energy. Okay, so attune. So that's going to mean that our opponent can attack, and if we block, it would be more or less just a chump block here. So yep, there's a Servant of the Conduit, so our opponent's up to 6 energy, and this Long Tusk Cub, we're not gonna block. If our opponent wants to use energy to make it big, they're gonna have the ability to do that, and so that's pretty good from our opponent's perspective. We can get this Aetherworks Marvel into play here. We could also play towards Ishkana, and I think I like that a little bit more. So what I mean by that is play the Evolving Wilds, sack it, just to get a land, and then kind of hope to find Delirium off this Vessel. And just getting in with the tracker is fine. So now our opponent can attack us with the Servant. We're just going to take this hit, and we'll see just how all in our opponent goes on the Cub. Looks like it's up to a 4/4 now. So we'll see if our opponent has that Marvel, and it looks like they do. So it's going to be activating a Marvel. And that's pretty annoying. So if our opponent finds something good off this, it's going to be really, really hard to come back. The good thing about this is that a lot of the energy now that the Long Tusk Cub would want is gone. Alright, Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot. Not the best, not the worst for us. So we're able to find Delirium off of the Vessel. So the question is, what do we want to take? We could take World Breaker, which is the most powerful card. So I like putting that into our hand. And we now have the 4 card types in graveyard that we need to be able to get this Ishkana into play. So the play here is to just jam Ishkana. We're still in a really bad spot if our opponent immediately finds Emrakul. But now at least we have blockers for Long Tusk Cub. We've got more pressure than our opponent does, actually. So now our opponent's under pressure to find something good off this marble. And of course, right on time, the promised end has arrived, and that's very bad news for us. So basically, this means that our opponent can wreak havoc on our board while still having this 13/13 left, and it's going to be extremely hard for us to actually kill Emrakul. And because we're at such a low life, it means that the Emrakul is almost presenting lethal already. It actually is unblocked presenting lethal. And our opponent is smartly going to just use the attune just to fizzle it. So we're going to get energy, but of course, not our opponent's going to opt not to find us a land here. So hard to see exactly how to get out of this. Even a Woodweaver's Puzzle Knot here would only get us up to 5 energy. So, yep, we're just dead. So that's gonna do it for the match.